Hey everybody, do you remember the 90s? I sure do. It was a very memorable decade, especially for video games. Here's a video games that's from the 90s. It's called Landstalker, the treasure of King Nole. I remember seeing a commercial for this game in the 90s. The thing is, it was so long ago, I don't remember if it was an actual video commercial or just some screenshots in a gaming magazine. But regardless, I remember seeing the commercial and I absolutely had to play it. I mean, the game looked amazing. These big, expansive worlds where you're running around, exploring, and fighting monsters. Landstalker is, in a lot of ways, the Uncharted of the 90s. Or at least kind of like a mixture of Uncharted and Sonic 3D Blast. Yes, the game does have an isometric view, but it handles a lot better than Sonic 3D Blast. A Sonic game wasn't really ever made to be isometric because Sonic is supposed to run really fast, so it really works when Sonic games are 2D side-scrollers. In a game like this, basically an adventure exploration action RPG, this type of isometric view works because your character is not supposed to be running non-stop, he's supposed to be exploring. In the game, you walk around outside, but also in dungeons, and you fight monsters. Your hero in the game is Nigel, a treasure hunter, and as you've guessed, the goal is to find treasure. A lot of the exploration is about puzzles, mainly environmental puzzles, by which I mean you're supposed to find a key so that you can open up a passage somewhere else in a dungeon. Things like that. You can climb and jump and fight monsters, and you can also upgrade your character once in a while. It's not very much an RPG. The RPG elements are very minor, so it really is more kind of like an action-adventure game, but there are definitely RPG elements. Almost all games today have RPG elements. There's some type of upgrades in a game. I mean, from everything from first-person shooters to racing games now have RPG elements. But it wasn't like that for the most part in the early 90s when this game came out. Games were part of their own genres. Racing games were racing, RPGs were RPGs, and side-scrollers were side-scrollers. It was pretty uncommon for a game to be a mixture of several. It would be weird if this game was a mixture of all three, like an action-adventure game, an RPG, and a racing game. I'm not sure how Landstalker would do as a racing game. Instead of walking, you just drove around in a car in an isometric view. I guess it would be like a Sega Genesis version of GTA or something, and that actually might work. Alright, here's a new thing I have to do. I have to build a time machine for the sole purpose of going back to 1992, getting hired as a game developer for Sega, and introducing the idea of Landstalker being a racing game RPG. And after that, of course, I have to make sure my parents get together, just to be safe. When going back to time, you always have to make sure your parents procreate. Even if there's like a tiny 1% chance they might not, I wouldn't risk it. Just to be sure, I would hook them up somehow. The thing is, even though there is this big world to explore, Landstalker is by all accounts a simple game by today's standards. If a game like this just came out today, it would just be a throwaway indie title, maybe like $1.99 on Steam. Looking at it in the context of when it was released, Landstalker is pretty damn impressive. Thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe. Goodbye, my friends.